You're listening to a Roddenberry podcast.
Today is Thursday, March 25th, 2021, and this is your daily Star Trek news from the Roddenberry Podcast Network. On today's show, George Takei condemns violence against Asian Americans in a new interview. Season 2 of Star Trek The Pod Directive is on its way. And I've got a short and yet also long list of the weekend's Star Trek events. I'm Alison Pitt, and today's show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Get 10% off your first month of counseling at betterhelp.com/DSTN. First up, former Star Trek actor and current activist George Takei has spoken out against the recent wave of anti-Asian sentiment in the United States. Takei appeared on MSNBC last Friday with Katie Tur, where he discussed the increase in violence against Asian American and Pacific Islanders, or AAPI people. It was in the wake of the mass shooting in Atlanta on March 16th that left 8 people dead, 6 of whom were Asian women. In a highlight clip on the Huffington Post, Takei expressed rage at the tragedy, which he says was caused by racism and inflamed by the rhetoric of the former president. Takei also addressed the shooter's alleged motivation for the killings, a sexual addiction, and condemned the fetishization of Asian women. When Tur asked him about how the Asian community felt during the last presidency, when the president himself as well as his top advisors used slurs such as the China virus and Kung flu when talking about COVID-19, Takei described it as a chill. It's a chill that goes out into the community, or worse, it's a frigid cold that goes out. I'm not likely to be targeted, but we have grandparents, parents, brothers and sisters, nieces and nephews, and immediately we become concerned. So it's just a chill that goes out through the country. Of course, Takei sadly has first-hand experience with violence and prejudice against Asian Americans. He himself was sent to an internment camp for Japanese Americans at a young age, a subject he has written and spoken about many times, including in his graphic novel They Called Us Enemy, and in his Broadway play Allegiance. When asked how he thinks we can do better as a society, Takei emphasized leadership. Some are led by the masses, others truly lead and educate and enlighten. And that's what President Biden is doing, but it's also coming from the community itself. The service organizations in the various Asian American communities throughout the country are now organizing. To watch Takei's full interview, head to MSNBC on YouTube. Now next up, earlier this week, StarTrek.com posted the trailer for the second season of the official Star Trek podcast, Star Trek The Pod Directive. The first episode of Season 2 is scheduled to premiere March 29th. Hosted by Star Trek Lower Decks actor Tawny Newsome and comedian Paul F. Tompkins, the Pod Directive features guest interviews with Star Trek luminaries, celebrity superfans, and behind-the-scenes creative professionals. The first season saw the likes of actor and producer Ben Stiller, Star Trek Discovery's Tig Notaro, and Star Trek Lower Decks creator Mike McMahon. Season 2 promises more big names with Lower Decks actor Jack Quaid, comedian Paul Scheer, Discovery's Michelle Yeoh, film critic Amy Nicholson, author John Hodgman, and more. And that's not all. The second season will see Newsome and Tompkins discuss the biggest stories in Star Trek news, along with in-depth conversation on fan-favorite Star Trek episodes and films from across the 55-year history of the franchise. Season 2 of Star Trek The Pod Directive launches on March 29th. To listen to the trailer and catch up on the first season of The Pod Directive, visit StarTrek.com or find the show wherever you get your podcasts. Now, I've got the weekend's online events here in just a moment, but first, a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp. It's been a hard year for many of us, myself included, but if you're struggling, then you should know that you don't have to go through it alone. BetterHelp is an online counseling service that matches you with your own licensed professional therapist, someone who you can connect to in a way that suits you. When you sign up for BetterHelp, you'll fill out a questionnaire that helps them find someone who specializes in the care that you need. Sleep issues, anxiety, self-esteem issues, and grief are just some of the things that they can help with. And of course, anything you share with your counselor is confidential. When I joined BetterHelp, I was matched with a counselor within hours. I joined on the web, but I downloaded their app too, so I can message my counselor when it's convenient or necessary for me. You can start living a happier life today. And as a Daily Star Trek News listener, you can get 10% off your first month of BetterHelp by visiting betterhelp.com/DSTN. And that's help, HELP. Join over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health by visiting betterhelp.com/DSTN. That's HELP, betterhelp.com/DSTN. And a big thanks to BetterHelp for sponsoring today's show. Now it's time for the weekend's virtual Star Trek events. And this week there are basically only 2 events, but they're full of little events. Like little Star Trek nesting dolls, or as Chekhov might say, Zyozdny Put Matryoshka. Something like that. Anyway, let's get started. First up, this Friday and Saturday, March 26th and 27th, WonderCon at Home returns as the digital alternative to WonderCon. There are several Star Trek-themed panels going on this weekend, and here are just a few. The Bright Legal Future of Star Trek, there's one. Star Trek and Mental Health 2020 TV Lessons for a Better 2021, and that one's with Larry Nemeczek and Dr. Ali Matu. There's a Voyager 25th Anniversary Documentary Team panel. The Science of Smart TV is with Anthony Rapp and science advisor Dr. Aaron McDonald. Is Star Trek fandom's division just the generations talking? That's with Larry Nemeczek and a team of Trek pundits and podcasters like John Champion and Women at Warp's Kennedy Allen. And finally, the companion Star Trek Enterprise 20th Anniversary Celebration. WonderCon at Home is free to attend and events are scattered throughout the weekend. For the complete program listing and how to watch, visit the WonderCon section of the Comic-Con International website at comic-con.org. Then on Saturday, GalaxyCon Live is back with another 2 of its virtual Q&A events. First is William Shatner at 9 a.m. Pacific Time, followed by the Villains of Star Trek at 3 p.m. Pacific Time. The Villains panel includes Jeffrey Combs, Casey Biggs, Vaughn Armstrong, and Steve Rankin. The William Shatner panel includes William Shatner. So, both events are free with registration, and you can purchase extras like autographs and one-on-one video chats. For more information on both of those panels, visit galaxycon.com. Now, those 2 were the big ones, but this last one might just be the sleeper hit. Now through April 4th, you can watch Nana Visitor perform the title role in Shakespeare's Richard II, a remote reading from the Brookfield Theatre for the Arts. The play is free to view on demand. Just head to brookfieldtheatre.org for details, and you can view a preview of the performance on YouTube. Just look for the Newsworthy Videos playlist on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Daily Star Trek News. Now, if you have an online event or a gathering that you'd like for me to promote on the show, then please let me know. How are you getting together with your fellow Trekkies without leaving the house? Well, that's it for today's Daily Star Trek News from the Roddenberry Podcast Network. Don't forget to check out the other great shows on the network at podcasts.roddenberry.com. Daily Star Trek News is produced by me, Alison Pitt, with selected stories by Chris Peterson and events by Marina Kravchuk. Today's show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Get 10% off your first month of counseling at betterhelp.com/DSTN. I'm back tomorrow with more of the Star Trek news you need to know and the answer to this week's Trek Trivia. I'm Alison Pitt. Live long and prosper.
This is a Roddenberry podcast. For more great podcasts, visit podcast.roddenberry.com.